think we're off. There we go. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is CPOMS update. Just to give you a bit of a heads up around online safety etiquette. It's been a while since we've done a session. Feel free to use the annotations. If you want to unmute yourself and join in conversation, please do so. Otherwise, just remain on mute just for background noise. That's fine. Apologies if I don't see any raises of hands, but for you guys, if you do see it, unmute and shout and we can pause there. Okay. So aims and outcomes of the next hour. Trying to keep it really specific, really. So we want to be able to update users on the changes made within the system. So we're looking at really refreshing our understanding of why we've got the CPOMS system. It's been in place coming up to 2 years now, which has flown by. We want to identify the changes that have happened to CPOMS, especially around recording of incident. Identify where we want to try and look at improving. So any areas for improvement, especially as we're moving into the new academic year. And then, as always, there'll be some time at the end for Q&A if needed. Okay. So first things first then, if you've got a smartphone, a tablet, a device that you can scan the QR code, please do so. If you've not, then the link is there. If you want to tap that into a second screen if you've got it, or into a smaller thing. And what's going to happen is Mentimeter is an online system that is going to record your input live. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to ask the question to you guys: why do you think we use CPOMS? Okay, so why are we as SSG using it, not just educationalists, but at SSG? Okay, and what should happen is on this screen now, when you tap in a keyword, it should pop up. So I've tapped in the word reporting as an example. So somebody's popped up straight away. Compliance, which is great. And you can do it more than once. You don't have to just give one reason. So safeguarding, communication, yeah, safety, good. So 2 lots of communication of info. Okay, safeguard and prevent, good. Prioritize things. Reporting, safety, prevent, tracking, yeah. So if you've not seen Mentimeter before, it's a really good tool. It's free. Register online, and as you can see at the top there, that's where you go to. Okay, and there is lots of different interactive online tools that you can use in your sessions as well. It's not just word clouds. It could be surveys, it could be an interactive board, a Q&A session, lots of different things. So whoever wrote efficiency, I like that one very much. So was the main reason it was funded, because it isn't free. CPOMS, it's been paid for by the company. Yeah, security, great. Okay, so coming back to the presentation then, we want to make sure, oh, some more coming in. We want to make sure that we don't lose sight of these keywords. Okay, so I'm glad that nobody's put on there ticking a box. Okay, because that is something we definitely don't want to see CPOMS as doing. CPOMS is a tool that we don't have to use, but we are choosing to use it as SSG because of all these keywords that you are saying and that have popped up on the screen now. Okay, and hopefully you are seeing the benefits of those. Okay, and making your job not only easier and more efficient, but also you're feeling a lot more confident in being able to pass on information securely, being able to talk to each other, being able to sleep at night, knowing that an issue you've dealt with in the day has been passed on to a DSO, so a designated safeguarding officer, and that they are aware of it and that they are doing something about it. Okay, any questions and comments? Cool. Okay, so moving on to then the changes, just some headlines. All right, so we are now first aid recording on CPOMS. Okay, activities are using it extensively. It is just a tool that we can use now to be able to interact with all those keywords that we've just used, but from another statutory point of view. So if you have a safeguarding incident form, you may well be asked in the future to upload that to CPOMS if you have access. And you do it exactly the same as I'm going to show you and remind you, except that we categorize it in a different way and we upload the document that you've already filled in. Okay. The groups. So for the people who are new to this, we will go through an example in a few minutes, so bear with me. For all us old at hand at this now, you could probably recall that the groups were at the front of the dashboard, and they were also something that we reported against. This is now becoming a very much a designated safeguarding officers tool. Okay, so DSOs and myself, we are going to start to group people. All right, that doesn't mean that you are not going to still use the categories. Okay, so the categories are the multicolored options that you have to be able to link an incident to a predetermined outcome or a type of safeguarding issue or concern. So what we are doing with that is we're reducing the number that are there. Okay, you're still going to be able to see them, but what we want is we want you to no longer select a subcategory. So if you were to click bullying, okay, and then again, I'll show you in a few minutes, you opened up the category and it gives you a lot of subcategory options. So it may have said online bullying. Okay, we no longer want you to check that box, but I'm leaving it there to give you guidance on what you're going to annotate. Okay, and it will become clear a bit later on when I show you the recording of it. So each incident must be assigned to a staff member to be submitted. Okay, this is something now which, if you get a bounce back and you're not able to submit your incident, go back in there, edit it, and see if you have assigned a staff member to be assigned to this. Okay, otherwise it will just keep coming back to you. All right, what we were having is some incidents coming in and it wasn't allocated to staff members, and then it was taken maybe a couple of days to find out actually which person is dealing with it, why are they dealing with it, who do we go back to, and it was something just as simple as checking a box. Okay, we also now, and this is really important, especially for the front line, we must include an agency to be involved. So in the past, an agency would be an external. Okay, and we would have said, actually, no, not all the time are we including police. So you're not going to check an agency for that. But we now have options there which are going to state funder. And if they are not associated with a funder, or you're not quite sure, you're going to tag them onto pre-funding. Okay, and that is going to mean that when we report out, when I run my reports, it's going to make it really specific and easy to see, rather than having 100 of individual cases and then having to collate it all into who is NACRO, who is Keys, who is neither, and then who is on a pre-funded course. Okay. Just to let you know, guys, these slides will go up and onto our YouTube channel and onto the quality Padlet as well. So you can go back and you can look at the recording and also get access to the links and the notes. Okay. Any questions so far? Silence is lovely. Okay. Have you added an action and a follow-up? So this is something that we've got really good at, but it is something that we are now going to start using a planner to help you track this. There is a planning option now, which if it's an open case incident and you're aware, and I'm just catching somebody's eye here. So Jeremy, a real user of this program. If you know that you are going to follow up with a person tomorrow with a phone call, you can now, within 2 clicks of a button, click in a time, click in a date, write a sentence saying, I'm going to follow up with this, and it will then remind you. Not only will it remind you, but it will track it. Okay, so all that above and beyond work that everybody is doing all the time is even more detailed tracked. So when we do run reports, we can then click it and we're not having to write pages and pages of annotation. So this is another thing that we're going to start to emphasize a lot more now. Okay, and it's about you guys owning it even more, checking what you have submitted is actually correct and that it's been uploaded correctly and that we've got a DSO assigned to it. And then you're going to revisit it and make sure that the candidate's details are inputted. Now, I'm fully aware that you can't input address and contact details, date of birth and things until that person is live on the system and annotated. But the follow-up, you can. So you can expect within 24 hours an incident to have been looked at. Okay, if it's not, you are professionally helping us out by nudging us. But it is within 24 hours, a DSO or myself will have gone in, checked it, made it live, attached it to a group. Okay, you can then revisit that and start adding in key information. And it may seem like doing the same job 5 times, but this is really important because if we have a date of birth, a gender that they identify with, an address, okay, all these things minimize the amount of contact we then have to have with business support, with MIS, going on to PICS, using a different software. And again, it's something that I would expect you guys to have to hand, to be honest with you, especially if you are tutoring and assessing a candidate. So DSOs, just a little note for you guys. Okay, when we look at the grouping now, we're going to be looking at kind of real broad headlined kind of groups. So it's going to be within region. Okay, so Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, and then work-based learning and Buckinghamshire. We obviously then have a company element, which is first aid and employee, which I'm sure, Amy, that kind of ticks a lot of your boxes there for our staff and visitors and things like that. Okay, and then we've got a couple more broader ones for activities, which is within the department and local authority. Now, moving forwards, it may well be that we have dual funding for a candidate through local authority. So, e.g., we may, sorry, Graham, we may then allocate them to 2 groups that, yes, they are within Bedfordshire, but they're also allocated to local authority as well. And that will enable us to really accurately and easily report. Any questions?
You know the grouping bit.
Yeah.
So if someone has added a candidate, filled in the incident, so whereabouts is the grouping? Is that within the candidate's profile part on CPOMS?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So when it goes in and it goes live as a new candidate on the system, so it's an incident, we've gone in and checked it. We go in, edit it, and it will then bring up an option for us to allocate to a group.
Right, okay, so that's where it comes up. It looks like a little tray or something.
Yeah, it does. So when we look at it as DSOs, for everybody else's information, we have a slightly different dashboard, okay, which if I've got it right, here we go. Can you all see that? Yeah, brilliant. So this is an example of a dashboard that I can see here, and I get all the headlines of everything. Your dashboard may look slightly different or a lot simpler to this. And then in here, we've got a group section, which we can then filter down by. So as of yesterday, CPOMS are working behind the scenes to change these. So as you can see, we had a lot more specific examples of grouping. okay, which are now out of date or inefficient. They don't really work for us. So we're doing a review. They are changing to the headlines that we've just identified. Okay. Yes, Dan.
I may have this wrong way around, but on the groupings, you've got like first aid and then you've got Bedfordshire. When you're talking first aid, is that a first aid incident?
First aid incident falls underneath reporting. So it will be health and safety as opposed to safeguarding. So it comes under that broad headline because it's completely away from safeguarding. If we have a physical altercation related to safeguarding, there will be two different things because we have a body map for safeguarding and then we have our reporting form for first aid.
Yeah, sorry, I probably didn't phrase that right. So
Sure.
On your previous slide, you've got the first aid, Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, work-based learning.
Yeah.
So if someone has a first aid incident in Bedfordshire, do we just put them in as first aid?
Just in first aid.
You're not
because
okay.
No, we don't. Because what we did do in the past was we did filter down at the top end, and actually we didn't have that much going on.
Cool.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to put it into that group, and then we can filter it from our narrative underneath.
Cool.
Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you.
Real. No, cool. So what I want to do very swiftly, okay, is just go through an incident. All right, just to point out and remind everybody, refresh everybody what we're looking at, especially off the back of those ever so slight changes that we've got. So when we add an incident, we will go into this area here and click. Okay, and then we would add the candidate's name. Okay, and it will either flag up that they're existing, or it will say no, they're not. They need to be a new candidate. Okay, so we'll click that in there. Within this area, this is what we are going to do our annotation about. We're going to explain what's happened, what we've heard, what we've seen, everything else that goes on. And we've had training about that, and we can revisit training in the future. If you've not, or you weren't here with us at that point, go back onto our YouTube channel, and there was a recording there about the statements, and it gives you some guidance and some tips and things on that there. When we talked about the real changes was in the categories. So my test candidate, unfortunately, I'm going to say I've got a cause for concern. So I'm going to check that button. Okay. This is our categories. Our subcategories are still there. Whereas in the past, we might be ticking things like, well, actually, I think they're associated with a postcode related gang, which I'll not say. I think actually they're undiagnosed with HELPS. They've definitely come in with an aura about them. And before we knew it, we had a rainbow of issues. Okay. And that wasn't helping our reporting because actually we had one issue of safeguarding. Within that, we've got a few concerns that are going on. So we would now, rather than ticking this, I want to leave this here as guidance, because in here you might say, actually, I think they're gang affiliated. And actually, I didn't even think about this, but I'm not sure whether they've got a criminal conviction. So I'm going to put in here and put actually not sure about past past convictions. Okay, so when we report in, again, sorry to state the obvious, but this is important. This is our category and it's a cause for concern category, but actually I'm going to use these to try and identify, and it may be something in there, guys, that isn't even listed. So again, go back to your statement writing training, have a look at that. Likewise, if we're not concerned and we tick safeguarding, we've still got the guidance in here, and it's the same for the majority of them. Okay. Next link down. Is there anybody else involved? So is there a student involved? And that's where we're putting there, not for this one. And this, Dan, is where we can still use our body map if there was some sort of physical marks, or they'd self-harmed or something like that. So that would be the safeguarding. We would then submit a separate first aid incident form and then link it. Okay, but that would be separate to this training. Okay, that would then become a first aid issue and not intertwined with safeguarding. What we've also got is when we're inputting this, but we can then start to annotate and go backwards. So this is a reminder for you guys that you can use this and should really be using this to tell me when this incident happened. You're all amazing at recording it pretty much the same day. But if they talk to you and it happened a day before, or it happened at the weekend, or whatever it might be, then write that in as the incident happened on this time and date. The status is always going to be active. So DSOs, and in particular me, in our statutory, in our supervision meetings, that's where we sign them off. Okay, guys. So we would take them from active to closed. So for you, it's already preset as active straight away. Okay. Again, just to let you know how easy this is. If you've been in a session face to face and somebody's disclosed something to you, and you're writing notes down, and they've decided to give a statement and sign it, or you've got annotated notes, as long as we can read that, as long as it's appropriate, take a picture, scan it, whatever it may well be, and then drag it into there, upload it. It's as easy as clicking the button. Okay, it will allow you just to click and drag in. It doesn't take a large memory. And again, you can write in your notes, see uploaded file. Okay, it's also really good for any kind of evidence building. So screenshots of text messages, for example, or social media conversations that have been had between people. Somebody's disclosing information which is really worrying. We could screenshot that and drop it straight in there, rather than feeling that you have to quote and annotate in this box. Finally, and this was the point here where it says annotate into here. Okay, so what we do here for this staff member's name, remember I said it's really important that we actually add a person to that. We need to make sure that this person now is on our system. So it won't let you do that straight away because it's got to be new. Okay, so when it comes in as new, this is what happens. And I'll show you now. We will add, let's say, local authority Bedford, and let's add NACRO, for example. Okay. This is the planning button that I talked briefly about, self-explanatory. Okay, so you either use it or you don't, but if you think it's missing, it's there. And then sub-incident. Okay, so this, oh, sorry, category, cause of concern. Okay, so we're back on my page now, guys. So you've done this, it's sent it off. And this little box up here, this in tray, flags up for me, okay, because it's a brand new student. Okay, I think it does it the same for you, Emma, and for any other person with DSO status. Okay, so that means that there is 5 different people all looking at this. Okay, we then say, oh, actually, this person's not existing, they're new. And I'm going to put in that they are a new, and I'm going to put in the, if I can spell this morning, okay, and then I attach them. So that then means that that person is in the CPOMS system. They've gone through the checks of being a real person. Their details are on there now. So you would be able to now go in and find that person. Okay, so new candidate, cause for concern, my history. So what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to edit it. Okay. And I'm going to assign to Emma Graham because she's the queen of safeguarding. Okay. And attach that person, update the incident, off it goes. Okay. Are we happy with that procedure so far? I think it's just refreshing a lot of you. Good. This is the second bit now. This is the area for improvements that we're going to be looking at, is because we've gone back in and we've assigned it to that person. Okay, really important that we do that. We now have the different tabs. Okay, so we need to go back in now and start giving some more information on this person. Okay, and we need to add the contact detail nice and simply, exactly the same, prescriptive form. Okay, if they are under 18, we want a emergency contact. Okay, it's a must. All right, yes, we've got it in pics, but we need to make sure that if it is associated with a system, that system is then saying CPOMS emergency contact is this person, and we're not automatically going to pics because the pics contact could be the issue. It could be that we've not been able to update it, and that emergency contact is the person who is causing that safeguarding issue. All right. Add in all the different notes, postcode where possible, and then we create the contact. And it just starts to build up information for us to be able to then run different reports. Okay. So DSOs and myself will run different reports on your behalf. And these are how we can run reports, and we can delete information. So please do not think that if by putting email address and 3 different mobile numbers, because they've got 2 burners and 1 that you're not sure about, and this is a new one, we can then start to categorize, well, actually, are we going to send a report off with that information? No. So I can remove it. Okay, I can take it out. Don't think I'm not going to input it to the system because I don't want other people to see it. All right. And then we can categorize it here, name, generate a report, and it kicks out a PDF report, it kicks out an Excel report, and these are the things that are now going to our local authority, to our funders. Okay. Any questions? Because that was a lot to take in. No? Happy? Cool. Okay. So looking at this area now, just going over area for improvement, things that I've just talked about, things I've just shown you, making sure the personal details are there. It may well take you 5 more minutes of your time, which is very precious. And we do everything in management to protect your time so you can do the job that you're doing. But I'm not exaggerating if I was to say that if that is left blank, it would take one of the DSOs or even myself 20, 25 minutes, maybe more. And it will also then start to include several other people, which then means that they have to stop what they're doing to then access the information that they can get, which then loses their train of thought in the middle of the job. And a lot of the time, safeguarding, rightly so, takes priority. So if Chelsea and her team are in the middle of an audit, okay, the last thing they need is us coming in, quizzing them, pushing them around. Can we get access to this? Can we get access to that? The second reason is now we've got PICS up and running, okay, and we can double check these things. We need to make sure that that information is up to date. So you guys on the front line are always going to be the ones that have the most up-to-date information about your candidates. Okay, they change certain phone numbers. They may be moving between addresses or not even have an address and they're sofa surfing. So these information around safeguarding, we will always go to CPOMS first and foremost. Okay. Completing documents as per earlier examples. So actually, doing the document. Yes, it's great that you identify the incident, put a name in, so-and-so said this today, send. And that's it. Well, actually, it's not it. As we've just shown there, we need to revisit that and say, has my DSO looked at that? Because you're not passing responsibilities, everybody's responsibility. Okay. And I know that for a lot of you, this will make you feel happier that you've been empowered to do this, because there's been certain incidences which play on your mind and you're wondering about, how much are we doing about it? What are we looking into it? Have we prioritized it as much as you want it prioritizing? Okay. And that, my friends, is that. Okay. So if I come back out of this, hopefully you can see my face a little bit more and everyone else's. Questions. So if you have a question, you don't want to shout it out, type it in. If you are thinking, oh, I've got a question, but it's really obvious and I should know it, but I'm not too sure about it, still say it, or email it me and we can revisit that later. Fine. That's oh, go on then, Emma. Thanks for bailing me out.
You're welcome. It's not a question, it's more of a sort of like a statement. So I just want to sort of make a recommendation that me and my team, we started doing, and then we've entered the summer period where things have got a little bit quieter, but we are going into, you know, for everyone in this call, into probably one of our busiest Septembers we've ever had. And we are really good, as Danny said, uploading incidences within 24 hours, which is really important from a funder point of view. I think the area that we all need to work on is that sort of revisiting and doing that 360. And we're now moving into a period of time where we've all been given the extra platforms. I know Charlie's team that you're going to be moving on to it, as my team have, where we've got Teams, we've got Outlook. And I really recommend that everyone finds 15, 20 minutes in their diary and sets it. And that is your CPOMS time, where it doesn't matter whether you've uploaded or not, but you log on to CPOMS and you check your cases. Have you put them actions? Because 9 times out of 10, if Matthew Vine has had an incident last week and he's uploaded it, he will have had a conversation with that student and probably found either something else that's escalated or something that maybe is a positive. And we're missing really crucial evidence that could be on there. You know, I went through a real life example of sitting in a meeting with people from loads of different professions, and we had some really good cases and evidence for a young person to put forward, but we by far had nowhere near as much detail as other educational providers and schools had. So I think that now we've got this platform, we've got used to it. It's just a case of getting down as much evidence as we can, so that we're not left in a position, you know, where we have had a positive conversation with a young person, but we're sort of scrambling to find, oh, when did Matthew have that conversation? When did that student say that? So it's just about having it on there. So yeah, use the platforms that we've got access to now. I know, for speaking on behalf of my team, you know, we've spent this week uploading our calendars, our diary, and we've all got really crucial sort of points in our week where we're looking at stuff. So get CPOMS on there, have you know, 15 minutes in your diary where you are logging on to CPOMS and you ring fence that time.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Little and often is always the mantra in our kind of business. Always, constant, little and often. Otherwise, what will happen is somebody like Emma or myself or Dan will pause whatever you're doing and move you, and that will take up more of your time to then do something in a larger capacity. And that's not what we want. Yeah, Dan?
Just following on from what Emma said, we've obviously got a lot of new tools available to people, inclusive of CPOMS, although it's been around for a while now. Danny's doing a good job of pushing it out. We've got Teams, we've got, as Emma said, Outlook, numerous other things. Just a kind of request to everyone really is that what we're desperately trying to do is reduce double handling of anything. So if you kind of see anywhere, not just linked to this from a safeguarding point of view, but anywhere where you're feeling like you're needing to double handle a task in terms of I've got to put it there, I've got to put it there, I've got to put it there, can you be really, really proactive in terms of raising that with your direct line so that we can talk about that in management meetings, because that is a real focus for us at the moment. We've taken a lot of feedback from staff over the last 12 months or so and changed an awful lot of different systems, brought in a lot of systems, invested in a lot of different tools. So we don't want to stop at this point. So whilst you're doing this and you're looking at CPOMS and using it more effectively, just bear that in mind. If there is any areas that you feel like you're doing, I'm putting it here, but I'm also putting it here, or I'm doing this and that and that, please do raise it, because we do talk about it and we do try and streamline as much as we can.
Yeah, it's a good point, as always, raised, because it at the point that you feel that you're getting squeezed, that's when we may not know. So you need to talk about that and make sure there is always a reason. And if there isn't a reason, like Dan says, it gets shifted pretty quick and out of the way. Any more questions? Any more statements?
So I have actually got one more question, a question this time, more for the purpose of area 1, and I think we spoke about this, Danny. So when you alert, when you put an incident on and you alert someone, they obviously get an email. Now, if an incident was to occur and I didn't alert, let's say Amy Marwood, would Amy be able to see that person? Just because I'm thinking from how close proximity the staff are working in area 1. I personally think it's quite important that, even though Amy's EB and teaching adults, if an incident has occurred with a young person, that she is aware of it, so that she doesn't go and stick her foot into something, when she crosses paths with them in the corridor. So do you need to, my question is, do you need to alert everyone?
I think the system is set up so you're able to see people who are on the system. So if you went to search, as an example there, if Amy was to search new candidate, she would be able to find and see new candidate. That's how it should be set up. If, guys on the front line, you do that and it's not working that way, please let me know, because I'm sat looking at my viewpoint of it and it's set up to do that. I can't see it from your viewpoint unless I log in as you. So it may be a good point at some point today, to just stress test that, just have a look in. While I say that, please don't panic, everybody, because there's been a lot of archiving done on CPOMS as well. So the information from previous years has not been deleted. Okay, we have access to it. We are able to get access to it. It just may not flash up right in front of your dashboard. Okay, that shouldn't have happened to the people you've been working with over the summer, Matty. That should be still there. But again, anything that we've done, refresh, updating, is not permanent. There is something always there behind the scenes. So if you speak to me or Emma or Charlie when he's back, we will always be able to kind of get to the bottom of it. But I think that's a good point. You're right. And we're such a close-knit team that we don't have or shouldn't have an issue with confidentiality and with professionalism. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this kind of training as we do now. We are all on board. We all have specific training around GDPR and making sure that we are professional in what we share and what we don't share in and outside of work. So yeah, I can't see a reason at all other than a benefit of being able to access that information. Yeah, Amy, sorry, Amy, you got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, Danny, just off the back of that, you know what you were saying a minute ago, that we should be able to just type in new candidate and it flags up?
Yeah.
You can, I've just checked.
Real.
You can
That's
see
good.
It. You can see
Thank
it.
you for that. That's good to know straight away. But again, with every software system, with every user, do you know what I mean? You are individual, you're new, and you're at different stages of using this. The best way around it is to get involved, to use it proactively. And like Emma says, 15 minutes a week will be the best 15 minutes you do, because it will save you having to deal with me for half an hour's conversation around something. Lovely. Anything else? Any more questions, statements? Brilliant. Right. Okay. So I'm just going to, oh, sorry, Nicola. Hi, Nicola.
Hiya, sorry. Just a quick question, because I've not actually used the system yet. I've
Okay.
been sort of shown around it, but I think it would be quite useful for me if I could just sort of like do a bit of a dummy test. Would that be okay if I
Of
just
course it would.
put that through as a test?
Yeah, it's exactly what happened with one of your colleagues yesterday. That decided to go through and test it. Go on to the what I'll do is I'll add the. Have you got access to the YouTube channel? Do you know our YouTube quality channel?
Do you know what? I've not seen it yet.
That's fine. I'll put it into the chat in a couple of minutes. So you've got access to that. Have a look on the pre-recorded videos, CPD on there, that might be able to help you and guide you through. But if you want to just label the candidate as a test dummy or whatever title, so it's obvious, have a click and a play, and
Okay.
I'll respond likewise, so it makes it live, and then later on I'll just delete it.
Great, that's
Okay.
brilliant. Thank you.
Lovely. Right. Okay. So I'll just pause there then. Stop recording.